And look, I'm very pleased to go and have a special guest in the studio here with me, Pete McGuire from XM, to go and talk through what he's seeing in markets. Pete, it's good to see you here.
Good to see you, David. I tell you what, it's been one hell of a week.
It has been. The volatility has been back, and look, from where I'm sitting, it looks like it's going to be there for a bit.
Look, if you look at crude, and it's just been a wonderful barometer to get that real feel, we've been having washouts of 6 and 7 and 8% moves in a night, and then bouncing up a couple of percent, then back off again. US dollar 92.7. I think it's got a 93 plus handle by Easter. That's what I'm calling.
All right, let's go down the currency path to begin with. No, it all comes back to the US dollar.
Sure.
What is the DXY looking at the moment? Now, close above its 200-day moving average. A lot of people keep a close eye on that. Can you see more upside from here?
I can. I look at that as the first market I look at in the morning. So, 4:30, 5 o'clock, I just go straight on and see where is it. 92.7, it's had a big push up. Have a look what's happened to the Kiwi, have a look at the Aussie, have a look at Canadian dollar, yen, pound, euro, all been hit south. So I think that's got a potential to be a 93 plus handle. I'm not going to say 94 or 95 yet, because I think we're heading into another storm on the horizon that could impact the US dollar.
Really? So potentially get some of that flow coming to it from risk-off trade?
Well, I think that I'm worried about corporate tax. I'm worried about growth. I'm worried about what's happening as far as rates further into 22. I know that Yellen and Jay Powell are saying nothing to worry about at the moment, but I necessarily don't believe politicians.
Sarah, let's go and bring up that chart that Pete's given us when it comes to the yield. So against the Japanese yen and the US dollar, that really demonstrates that yield differential and what's driving currency markets.
Absolutely.
So just explain, Pete, what are we looking at here?
Well, when you look at that, David, have a look at that sideways for the Japanese yen. That's the orange line that really hasn't shown anything over the last year. It's had a little bit of a bump up, but Japan just has very, very low interest rates. We're very mindful, and when you strip out as far as movement, everything's really negative. So there's the first part. If you look at what's happening as far as yen versus US dollar in green, it's had an almighty move really from December 31. What a New Year's Eve present that one was. Absolutely off to the races, and it was, we had a low there of 103, now breaching around 109. It's just been an enormous trade over those 10 weeks trading yen. And then you're looking at the blue line, which is Treasury yield. I don't need to say more. It's nearly mirror image. Everyone's talking about short term and what's happening as far as 10-year. The numbers and the graph tell the story.
Absolutely, and of course the Japanese 10-year yield, that's partly because of the Bank of Japan's policy for yield curve control and keeping that range 25 basis points either side of zero. So that's anchoring it whilst the US curve is starting to go and steepen. That reflects that we've got better economic outcomes in the United States at the moment. Certainly a better vaccine rollout. When it comes to DXY, how much of the reason why it's stronger as well is because the euro is weak?
Well, definitely euro weak as far as, it's locked down, and we're worried about Germany, France, Italy, and really across the whole blanket of the continent. The outcome there is that the States has been very much one-way traffic as far as growth over the last 6 to 7 or 8 months. It's been very, very strong. And manufacturing, everything has really been building. Have a look at the Dow, have a look at S&P and the Nasdaq. Nasdaq's been out of control, David. I mean, we've really seen numbers there that I think has really hit traders between the eyes going, how much further has this got? Look at crypto, what's happening as far as Elon and the car stories. So all of that has been factored in to really push that, I think, the resurgence as far as US. They're a long way ahead compared to Eurozone as far as growth. I think they're nearly 8 or 9 months ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. On the cycle, definitely ahead. So it's getting some traction there. Bringing it back to the Aussie dollar, that's kind of like no talk between crosswinds, because you've got the positivity coming through for commodity prices and the like, generally getting helped by that. The economic outcomes here are still pretty good, but the vaccine rollout is lagging. You can see that's really started to go and drag on the Aussie dollar a bit over the past couple of weeks.
Well, have a look at it. We're now in that 76 sort of handle, and we're going to see a 75 by the end of the month. I'm not really sure, but certainly sometime in April, I wouldn't be surprised to have a 75 handle. We spoke, I think it was about the 26th of February, and I was here with Cara, and that Aussie dollar was at 80. And really, I think it was very, very toppy. It was totally exhausted to the upside. Have a look since that, what we've seen as far as downdraft. It's been absolutely a trader's delight. The whole currency sector has been just one to sit there and just go, wow.
Yeah. I reckon I top ticked the so I blamed myself for the Aussie dollar coming off. For some reason I was just sitting there on the couch and I looked and the Aussie had an 80 handle. I'm like, wow, and I went and tweeted about it, and then that was it. That was the exact top.
You were the driver.
Yeah, so I'm responsible for everyone's no Aussie dollar weakness there. So thank
traders love going short, David.
Yeah,
nothing wrong with that. And when you're betting against you think of that US dollar, all of those currencies have lined up incredibly from a technical trade, from certainly the fundamentals. And it's just been a glory trade, running in with a softness as far as crude, equities. This first 10 weeks, or probably 12 weeks of the calendar year have been nothing short of outstanding.
Well, I'm going to talk to you about Brent crude, just crude in general, WTI, or the Brent contract. Doesn't matter what you're talking about. You mentioned the volatility at the start of the program. What are you looking at? When you look at what's going on there, there's lots of fundamental factors, lots of uncertainty out there. Technically speaking, though, what's going to happen here? Are we going to continue to go and grind to the upside? Lots of bullish forecasts coming out now.
Okay, I think you might the Suez, and we haven't even discussed that, but I think that's a very, very, very big red flag. How long that Evergreen tanker, that cargo ship, is going to delay all of the supply lines, everything into Europe. So that's an unknown.
Yep.
But if you're looking at as far as then, is that a chart?
That's a Brent crude chart.
Have a look what we've experienced again from really the end of December. It's been just one-way traffic, and this over the last 9 or 10 months has just been extraordinary upside. So yeah, there's probably a 65 to 70 handle, but I think it's going to be as choppy as anything, David, and that really is a trader's delight. So those big sweeping moves, no one can forecast that. You go to bed at night time, unless you're trading US markets, you go to bed and you just go, wow, I didn't expect that over, a 2.5 hour window, and it's down $3 or $4.
I know you tend to go and focus more on the short to medium term. The longer term, on that chart just then, last three probes that we've seen Brent above $70 have all fizzled really badly and come down. Is that a natural ceiling we've got for the time being that you're keeping a close eye on?
I think so. I work with a team out of Dubai, and I do some work with them at Gulf Intelligence, and they have analysts across the world that have a forecast where they're thinking no one's going bullish above 70. And these guys are based in Middle East. You're talking about, Russians, you name it. It's a global group that look at, forecasting, and no one's really going 70 to 75. Because I think the demand destruction, David, we're worried about Europe, worried about what's happening there. There's got to be that impact. And if we see that Northern Hemisphere summer get crimped with as far as lockdowns, I don't think that's not a good sign for economic growth or for crude prices to march higher.
Okay. Look,
and a stronger dollar.
Yeah, well, the stronger dollar as well is going to be factored in when you're talking about any different commodity market out there. Look, we cater for all sorts here on the program. You can be experienced, you can be a novice when it comes to trading. When it comes to trying to go and eliminate things that can make you costly mistakes when you're trading, what's some of the pieces of advice you can go to give people who are just starting out on that trading journey?
Okay, I think it's very wise. A lot of the platforms allow you to trade with an account that doesn't require any funding. So spend as much time as you can understanding what the inputs are. What happens when Japan opens? What happens when China opens? Where does Australia play? Choose, and this is, I know it's so logical, what time do you trade? What time do you work? If you're a trader and you've got a full-time job, are you allowed to trade while you're working? You might be a bricklayer. Bit hard to, hang on, I've just got to lay that as bricks, Dave. I'm not, I'm trading markets. Maybe it's a time not to trade while you're working. If you're driving, you can't look at phones. Depends on and then if you're trading early in the morning, that means that you're trading late New York. So what happens at the end of that trading session? That last 2 hours can be extremely volatile, and you're getting caught up in all of that hubris.
Yeah.
Then how do you set yourself up? It's a 24-hour-a-day window. People say, I trade all day. Well, until you actually grind down to the last part to say, take me through all of those trades. What time do you make those decisions? What do you look at? Do you look at seasonality? They go, what?
Yeah, let's go down the seasonality path to go and end off the program. Now, that's really important when it comes to trading because it can go and dictate flows over a longer period of time.
Of course, and then you look at religious festivals. What happens around Easter traditionally? What happens with Christmas? What happens with the Hajj? What happens with Ramadan? What happens as far as different calendar events? So you've got Indian wedding season. Sounds a bit like we're not across it. Well, hang on, there's a large proportion of the world that buys gold, or Chinese Lunar New Year. What are you doing is taking on board all of those frames that can greatly impact a market that you're not really aware of. Makes a bit of sense, doesn't it?
It does, mate. It does. It's some great advice there for everyone out there. Pete McGuire from XM. We'll have to go and leave it there, but thanks for joining us in the studio
Good
today.
to see you, David.
Enjoy
And
your
again,
weekend.
congratulations.
Appreciate it. Thank you, mate.